Oh, men like sex. Men get very testy when they don't get sex. They become very grumpy old men.
And you get to know what the regulars want. You know, there's a lot of them can't ask their wives or their girlfriends for the specific things that they're after.
Particularly here, I noticed we had lots of young cowboys would actually come to town and book a girl before they went out for the night so that they didn't end up fighting.
You can see it. They can hardly talk when they walk in the door, and once they've had sex they can chat and verbalise once again, and their brains work instead of having their brains still in their pants.
A lot of businessmen, you know, they're too busy to find anybody, so they have an escort.
Here in Darwin, they want it here now, like 10 minutes ago, and everyone just comes in with their thongs. They're just, you know, it's really easy to please your clients. They don't seem to want too many kinky things, or they understand about safe sex.
3, 4, 5 in the morning. They're that blind they can hardly talk on the phone, but they haven't picked up that night, so they're looking for a bit of company.
There is work for fantasies, like some people just really want to play. They want naughty nurses, and it's a really good market, but there is mainly a market for straight sex.
You know, there's a lot of couples that want to experiment, but they don't want to go and pick a girl up.
I work as two people. I work as a dominatrix and I work as a straight, if you want to use that word, straight sex worker as well. Two different people, two different sets of clients. I work mainly daylight hours. I do work some evenings, but not a lot because drunk men are hard to deal with.
You know, a lot of guys just want company. They're so lonely, they're happy to pay someone just to sit with them for an hour and just talk.
Other times, just sometimes people who are really shy or awkward, have bad skills, still need sex, and sex workers will provide not only the sex but the company to those people.
You know, there's some guys that have sexual dysfunctions that they've become so stressed about. They're not in a stressful environment with a sex worker, you know, and who knows, maybe it helps them.
The normal client, it's the same massage, oral sex, and you even have the same standard 3 positions as well.
So many different services the girls provide. It's not just wham bam, thank you ma'am, here's your money. You know, most of the girls that I've come across at that specific agency were using some form of drug, whether it be alcohol or whatever, gambling. They all had their addictions. They're always drunk, they're always gambling, they're always broke. So then they're tied to the agency, they can't go anywhere.
I was married for 15 years. I dabbled in the kinky things of life. When I separated from my husband, someone suggested that I could make money out of my skills. And I also did always have a very large appetite for sex.
For me, it was an educated choice of how to spend time with my children, provide for them, and still have sex.
I can't remember what on earth I was thinking when I thought, hey, that sounds like a great idea. I'm 16 years old and I should actually make money off of this. Not that I'd had that much sex beforehand. Like, I'd been in a relationship where there was a lot of sex for favours happening. And I guess that I just realised that you could make money out of that.
So I went and worked at the agency. Had to register. Didn't know why. It was just one of the processes that you went through. Got registered. And worked there for about 18 months, then left the agency and have worked privately up, and I'm still working privately, so I've been in the industry for about 10 years, working both in the kinky scene and just doing the straight sex as well.
I actually discussed with my children before I started sex work whether they were okay with it, because Darwin is a really small place. And I registered with the police because I always think if you do the right thing, everything will work out. There I worked for about 6 years, on and off, sometimes private, sometimes in the agency, mostly in the agency. And then, as my kids were older, I figured I didn't want to start booking their friends. So I went back to uni.
I've been in the Northern Territory for only 2 years, and it was really refreshing because it was legal to work as a sex worker. For the past 10 years I'd worked illegally in South Australia, where sex work is illegal. So up here, it was really good to know that I could work legally from a hotel room and not get kicked out. It just felt a lot better knowing that you weren't breaking the law and you weren't a criminal. That was a really big difference.
Like being a sex worker, I enjoy sex. It's a lucrative way of making money. I enjoy people. I find them quite fascinating. And all my family know what I do. Mother, father, relatives, friends. To me, sex work is simply an occupation, and I enjoy it, and my clients enjoy it, and it's a good way of making money.
And I worked really, really hard because I was a hot 19-year-old blonde, and I made lots and lots of money. And now I've got a really bad back. So you hear a shagger's back. There's also hookers back as well.
The girls need to remember their body is their number one commodity, and if they don't look after it, there is no work. It's their livelihood, it's their life, not just their job.
When I came to the Northern Territory, I was a sex worker and I could work in different aspects. I could work for an agency, but I needed to get police registration. So I looked into it and I thought, I have a clean record. I don't have any sex work on my record anyway. So I thought I didn't want that to come up later on. So the other option was I had to work privately.
The way the law stands, they're not allowed any help whatsoever. The bonus, they don't have to register. But, you weigh that up against the fact that they're not allowed drivers, so they drive themselves. No one knows where they've gone. They have no security. So if they get roughed up or a client refuses to pay the money, or if there's any problems whatsoever, they have to deal with it on their own.
I mean, it is more secure working in an agency, and they take half your money for that security. If you're on your own, you have to go by your own instincts.
As an individual worker, if you have someone that drives you to a job, that's considered an agency, so you're not supposed to do it. You're not allowed to work with a friend because that would make you an agency, so you can't do it. So you basically have to be completely alone. And so you've got no safety measures in place and no company outside the clients. So you really have no rights at all to look after yourself.
The way the laws are set up at the moment, you're only able to work from a motel. And also, I take it that you're not supposed to be visiting people in their homes. They need to come to a motel, or you can visit them at a motel. So it's all motel driven.
Working as a private sex worker, you need to work alone, and I need to use my gut instinct a lot on the phone. I try not to see anybody after midnight because there's the big drinking culture in Darwin, and when you're trying to deal with drunk clients, they're just a pain in the butt.
Not all motel owners are pro-workers, but when it comes to booking motels, you've either got to be upfront and let them know what you're doing and go to places where they're okay with it, or you need to put on a front.
OH&S should mean that we can have enough of us there to look after each other. If I want to work privately, but I can't have my friend out there for me to scream, "Oi, mate, come give us a hand," her to help me drag him out. Even in an agency, you really haven't got that most of the time because you're being driven to your motel room and back. In an agency, you have all the girls in one place, but you cannot have clients in the agency. You have to book a motel room, and the girls have to be taken to the motel room, or they can visit the client's in-house where you have to be taken, so that the girl is basically always alone with the client. and there's no safety measures in place.
It's up to the agency to register the girls. The agency should have the forms on site, there to fill them out. Then they give them to the police. It's apparently meant to only take 7 days. I have heard cases where it's taken up to 3 months.
The other aspect of registration is that you cannot get registered if you have a criminal record that includes drugs or assault charges. This includes domestic violence. So when you can't get registered, you have to work privately, or you have to go and work illegally. It pushes everyone underground.
Most of them work while they're waiting for their registration, or they just don't bother registering because it's just too hard. They don't want their personal information on file. There's no guarantee that their personal information will be deleted after they deregister. They don't know who's got access to their information. At one of the agencies, there was only one girl there that was actually registered, and there was probably 8 or 9 working. The others couldn't get registered. They had drug convictions.
So I went in and I asked the police why I had to register, and they said to keep organised crime out of the industry. That's when I said to them, surely a criminal history check would cover that and make sure that I wasn't involved in organised crime.
There's no guarantees. I think more ladies would be willing to register if it could be guaranteed to them that their information was not going to go any further.
I can't see one benefit of registration, especially police registration, and having my name and number and personal details in the police system. It's scary.
I don't understand why we have to be registered in the organised crime division when we're really just organised workers.
I've found out that the registration is deactivated, so it shows a previous tag. So the tag's not there, but it shows that there's been a previous tag. So it's not deleted, the information is still there.
You can't go to the police because they will treat you different because you are a sex worker. You've got it stamped on your forehead for the rest of your life, and you are treated differently when police see that you are a former or a current sex worker.
No, it's not even about safety. They don't even pretend it's about safety of the girls. It's purely to keep organised crime out of the industry.
They can say it's for personal security. They can say that it's, to help them, but it's not. If that was the case, it'll be the private girls that are registered.
I can't see the actual need for registration. I can't see what it can make my job easier or safer. It can't help my safety. It can't help anything.
So they have all these laws in place, but not a single one of them is about protecting sex workers or making anything easier or better for them.
The girls are doing it illegally. Everyone's breaking the law. No one's getting busted.
Registration is just really labelling sex workers as someone different than anyone else in this community, and giving a police registration just makes it like we're a criminal rather than just someone offering another community service. Well, I think there should just be, firstly, there shouldn't have to be police registration. Don't understand why police have to have anything to do with this business. They don't with any other.
I can't see the sense of sex workers being registered with the police because we're legal. It's not criminal activity.
Registration does not protect sex workers. What protects sex workers is workplace legislation and occupation health and safety standards, and empowering sex workers to make informed choices.